All right, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in this world. Today is February 27th, 2020. It's getting close to 6 o'clock here in the Midwest. In the evening, heading home from work. So actually heading to a school function tonight, so I'm not heading straight home. Wanted to talk another Royals video, just kind of a performance update. Don't think this will be a terribly long video. One of the things that I was talking to a coworker today at work about was some of the good performances and some of the not so good performances, and that we've seen so far. And one of the names we threw out of someone who has looked pretty decent so far was Scott Blewett, which, like I said in the other video, that's a terrible name for a pitcher. And Scott Blewett, he blew it today. He was not good. He gave up 4 runs in an inning of work to the Milwaukee Brewers, and those were the only 4 runs the Royals gave up today as they lost 4-2. The offense was pretty anemic today. Not a lot of offense. Salvi had a couple hits. Brett Phillips got a hit, got his first hit of the spring. Didn't strike out, so that's a plus. Mejia had a couple more hits. He always hits well in the spring. So pitching, other than Blewett, the pitching was very, very solid. You had Josh Stalmont looking really, really good again. Zuber is a name that I have not mentioned on these podcasts, and so much so I don't even know what his first name is. So, but Zuber's a guy that I heard about yesterday, and I was listening to one of the 810 podcasts, and they were saying, hey, who's a guy that's flying under the radar who has a really good shot at making the team? And everybody, anytime that question is asked, the answer is always the same. It's always Zuber. And I'm going to have to look this guy up. I really don't know too much about him. So, that's an interesting angle to play there. But Zuber, again, he pitched well. Pitched a clean inning. Kris Bubic pitched 2 innings today. Other than I think he was the only pitcher to go multiple innings today. 2 innings. He struck out 2. I think he walked a batter, but didn't allow any hits. So Bubic looked really, really good. At least from the box score. I haven't seen the highlights yet. Sometimes I watch the videos. Well, usually I watch the videos as I get home in the evening. But when you look at this, his numbers, at least it was promising, and that's what you're looking for. And then I'll start reading some of the reports of how they were locating pitches and all that good stuff. So I wasn't able to follow any of the Twitter feeds today. So that's an interesting, The young pitchers have looked really well. Kowar got roughed up in his very first outing, but other than that, the young pitchers have pitched very well. Some of the guys that we thought would not pitch well have not pitched well. But then other guys, Jake Newberry, another clean inning today. So Newberry has looked really solid. Of course, I mentioned earlier in the previous one about Glenn Sparkman. He has really looked really good as well, which I'm on the fence about Sparkman. I know he's a candidate for that 5th spot in the rotation. I just don't think that there's going to be enough there. And, when we talked about when Brad Keller was taken out of the starting rotation last year and was shut down towards the end of the season, the last month, or I think it was the last 6 weeks of the season, they put Sparkman in there, and he started the rest of the season, and he was awful. It was just ERA, I think it was 7.77. I think it was lucky number 7. I think that was his ERA over his, once Keller went out. And the thing about Sparkman is that he's pretty decent the first time through the lineup, but he does not fare well when he has to go through the lineup the second time, let alone the third time. Some pitchers, the second time through the lineup, they can get by pretty decently. It's that third trip through the lineup where they start to get dripped up. Batters start to see him a little better, that sort of thing. that's pretty typical across the board for most pitchers, not just Royals pitchers. And Sparkman's a guy that really depends upon, you know, his alive fastball to get guys out, and that's one of the things that he really only works well one time through the lineup, unless you've got just elite level stuff that moves. Jorge Lopez has looked well. It's looked really well in spring training so far. I've kind of given up on Lopez a little bit just because last year he was very disappointing after showing some flashes of promise in 2018. And this is a guy that, when you talk about fastballs and moving fastballs, his fastball doesn't move at all. And I really think it might behoove Lopez, even though he's got up to a good start, I think it might behoove him to throw a different type of pitch, or learn a new pitch, or maybe cut that fastball a little bit, throw a cutter, maybe take something off and throw a two-seamer now and then. I think that would be something he could add to his arsenal that would give him a little more movement on that fastball, as opposed to a four-seamer that just doesn't move. And a four-seamer that doesn't move, that only tops out at about 92, 93 miles an hour, man, that, I mean, 30 years ago, yeah, that was a great pitch. But batters are, that's a batting practice fastball now. So, but again, the results so far on Lopez in spring have been pretty promising. Bubba Starling hit his second home run. So Starling again is this a sign of things to come? I am not a Bubba Starling believer. I don't think he's going to make a good Major League Baseball player. But we'll see. I mean, if he continues to hit, he's going to force the Royals' hand. One of the things that we talked about at work today was, you know, Bubba being the starting center fielder. And I'm like, okay, well then, does Merrifield go back to second? I'm like, yeah, Merrifield goes to second. Okay, well then where does Lopez go? Does Lopez go to the bench? And that was kind of the end of the discussion. You know, we talked about how Mondesi may not be ready. That's another thing about Mondesi. So I'll get to Mondesi in a second. But if Starling is playing center, Merrifield probably more than likely is somewhere in the infield. Someone's getting a day off. I'm still not a big believer in Nicky Lopez as an offensive player. I'm going to take the wait and see approach and see ultimately what happens. I just don't think Lopez has enough power, you know, to stay at the Major League level as a consistent starter. I'm not saying he's got to hit 30 home runs a year, but just don't get the bat knocked out of your hands every time you come up to the plate. So speaking of Mondesi, the most recent report was that while he is going to be ready for spring training or for the opening day, he just now started taking swings from the right side of the plate. So a little concerning, especially in our division with the number of left-handed starters that are in there. I'm a little concerned that Mondesi is just now only beginning to swing the bat from the right side. If he had to go strictly as a left-handed batter, I guess that's fine. And I don't know. Mondesi, his value is he's better when he's switch hitting. He's a better hitter from the right side. At least he should be a better hitter from the right side. That's typically how it goes. It's better. The typical thing for switch hitters is the higher you hit for the higher average right-handed, and you hit for more power left-handed. But you know, see what happens with that. Michael Franco, or Mikel, I don't think it is Michael. They were talking about this the other day. It was like Mikel. You pronounce that last syllable. Regardless, Franco has not hit well so far in spring. He's been scuffling along. Not too alarmed there. A lot of the guys are actually scuffling along. The Royals' offense actually has not looked that solid overall. Just not a lot of good at bats. Not a lot of things to really get excited about so far. But it's still February. You know, we still have a month to go before the regular season begins. So the biggest takeaways, though, to me, again, Jake Newberry, Josh Stalmont, and then until I know his first name, I'll just call him Hans Zuber. In Zuber, these three guys pitching very well, and Bubba Starling continues to hit as well. I don't know. I don't know what you're going to do with Starling, but I'm excited to see what Josh Stalmont. I think Josh Stalmont is a guy that can be the 7th, 8th inning guy to Ian Kennedy, and he's a guy that I think is a future closer for the Royals. So after Kennedy's contract expires, I'm really excited to see what Josh Stalmont can do in the Royals. And then obviously Kris Bubic making his spring training debut today. 2 scoreless innings, 2 strikeouts. Again, congratulations to Bubic. Look forward to seeing him coming up pitching for the Royals in the big leagues this year, as opposed to all of the experts here in Kansas City who some of them just seem to think that there's no way possible for any of these guys to come up this year. You're wrong. You're dead wrong. These guys will all be up here at some point. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. Go Royals. Have a nice evening.